the argument for decarbonization of agriculture. Decarbonization or de-chemicalisation. There is we know a carbon cycle, there is a natural carbon cycle, and of course, post-industrial level, lot of anthropogenic carbon emissions started adding. But still we need to remember, we need natural carbon cycle to continue. And agriculture, food production usually comes under that natural carbon cycle. But then, why are we talking about agriculture being one of the sources of emissions, greenhouse gases? That's because of the industrial agriculture, basically which is promoted in US and developed countries. So we need to just remember that separation of this natural carbon cycle plus the emissions which are we are concerned about. So that within that natural carbon cycle, agriculture sector has to be integrated. I think that's how we need to look at it. So FAO, I think FAO is designated as authority on agriculture by UNFCCC, and their report, their report on decarbonizing agriculture talks about two major or three major sources. One is, they say, crops and livestock contribute to emissions, but they are mostly non-carbon dioxide emissions. So it's methane and nitrous oxides. And then agriculture land use change, which basically deforestation, as agriculturization happens, deforestation happens. So, and also sometimes this burning of the biomass. So all that is under this agriculture land use. So there they mapped carbon dioxide emissions. And then third is on-farm energy use. So there we have a lot of fossil fuel usage. But across the world, I think agriculture is as varied, and even in India it's very varied. So what all has been mentioned is not the same, it's not uniform, and it varies differently. So here you can see, if anyone remembers in 1995 when COP convention started, India was identified as the top nation in emissions. And that's because they said you have a lot of rice production and you have crores of livestock. So this, I think these two have been identified. But now as research increased, now the numbers are being changed. So FAO itself, in the last 5 years, they have changed the data, and the percentage of contribution from agriculture for greenhouse gases is also being changed. I think somewhere now it is about 30% average. But again, this is an international average. So there I just want to take you through the data which is presented by FAO. So here you can see the earlier data which shows a 2020 report. You can see 30% agriculture emissions are coming from 3 countries, India, Indonesia and Brazil. And India is the third one. And there you can see it comes from crops and livestock. So this is again non-CO2 emissions as per them. So India is third highest, and very small is about agricultural land use. So basically the land use change and all the emissions which are being mapped under that It's a very small percentage. And within the this crop and livestock, this is again a international assessment. So they are saying 39% is enteric fermentation. The enteric fermentation is from livestock. Basically, it could be farts or burps by the cattle or animals. So that is 39%. Livestock manure is 20%. Synthetic fertilizers, they give 13%. Rice cultivation, 10%. Manure management, 6%. Burning savanna. So crop residues, burning, 4%, which we are seeing in Delhi. But overall, you can see the large apportionment of the contribution to livestock. Now, this is based on their own methodology says on number of animals. So straight away they take an animal as a unit and contributing to methane emissions, which I think is not true because as I mentioned, this is nature, animal is part of nature. So how can you, add that as a anthropogenic activity and then add to the entire debate on reduction in emissions? In fact, the figures are also wrong. If you look at the Indian livestock census, we have been monitoring since 93, and normally we don't look at statistics. In every village, 30 years back in India, there were hundreds of livestock. Today you hardly find them. But if you look at the 20th livestock census, it does not, reflect this. In fact, it says it is growing. From 2017, now the 2019, it says there is a 4.5% increase in livestock. So the data, I was mentioning to Soumya, because we did a pilot survey in 94 because we are working on a slaughterhouse in Telangana. The data is collected by the teachers, and usually, they don't go and, count the number of asses or pigs or, all these, animals. So what they usually do is sit and write, 10 are there last time, 4 are born, 2 are dead, and overall you get a 12 out of that. So that's the kind of census is there. And that's how the census keeps showing increase in the livestock. But actually it's decreasing, and that's a concern because when you are talking of organic farming or agroecological farming, where are the cattle? We want cattle because we want that organic content to grow in the soils. So now there is a major concern that we don't have cattle. But then here the argument is you should do away with your cattle because they contribute to the emissions. So this is the contradiction I think we need to look at. But it is somewhere true if they have done an apportionment by country-wise. But then again, you'll see, of course, I am not going into deforestation, they said. I'll come back to this. So anyway, there is a report, a recent report in September 2023 on livestock contribution to emissions, carbon emissions. And most of them is coming from US. And in fact, 4 companies contribute more than 4 countries, including Netherlands. So they are industrial farming, industrial livestock production, and their contribution does not get reflected in these reports. That's a major problem. But ultimately it comes to third world countries, India, and they keep saying livestock, your livestock is a problem, and rice cultivation. You can see rice cultivation is only 10%, but the staple food. It's food, and it's natural. How can you, include it as part of a, anthropogenic activity? Again, I think that inclusion is, I think we need to challenge. So the methodology, one is the attribution is questionable, because as I mentioned, this livestock data is taken and then they equate a number, each animal with a unit of emission. Then land use and land use changes are mostly relied upon. That's because of the old school of thought about how deforestation contributes to reduction in the vegetation and plantation, and then leads to emissions. But that does not mean directly agriculture is responsible for that. Then fossil fuel use, as I mentioned, only last, I think 15 days back, there is a report which says 15% of the emissions within agriculture is now attributed to fossil fuels. And again, fossil fuel usage is mostly in industrial farming, not in traditional small scale agriculture like in India. So this is buried under that, energy usage. Then they have not evaluated the production methods, because now as part of the agriculture transformation which is being discussed even in COP28, they are talking of moving towards, in the name of decarbonization, towards lab meat, cultured meat. So yesterday Vandana Shiva was mentioning, so they show livestock as a problem, but that's industrial livestock, not the free range livestock which is available in India or any other traditional pastoral communities. So the production methods are not discussed at all, but the attribution is there. Then there is no reference to natural transfers, separation between natural transfers of carbon or methane or nitrous oxides. You were mentioning chemical is everywhere, but there is a natural transfer, and there is something which is happening because of industrial agriculture. So all these are not there, and but still the argument for decarbonization of agriculture continues, and that's a report which has a lot of flaws in that. So here I just show you, this is about the energy, on-farm energy use. And between 2000 and 2018, they show how gas, diesel oil, coal, electricity, and other methods are increasing as part of on-farm. There again, because of Green Revolution package, even in India, I think in the morning, about finance, someone was saying we should automatically include farmers' application in green finance. But if there is a Green Revolution package which includes fertilizers, pesticides, and tractors, so I think you can't include them, or you need to grade, this and then the organic method of production. Again, this is FAO data. You can see why it is happening. Whatever is happening, when I said in India now we have at least 5 or 10 slaughterhouses which keep cutting livestock. Now we have a lot of poultry. But if you look at the overall data, it's all happening in developed countries. So the annual per capita meat consumption is highest, and they are expecting it to grow in developed countries. Annual per capita milk consumption, annual total meat consumption is also very high. So this is again another figure which shows that the attribution is not complete. And if anyone says India has to decarbonize agriculture, I think I do not agree looking at what is here. Then the global energy consumption. This is the most recent report I was mentioning. You can see even within the global energy consumption, retail consumption, transport, all that is 38%. Processing and packaging is 42%. And agriculture production, actual agriculture production is only 20%. So, and again, we need to look at the entire food supply chain and then see where you can decarbonize and how you can decarbonize. That's where we are talking of local food cycles have to be, recreated so that we can avoid local farm use. Now I'm coming to the second part. You are standing.
I'm standing to remind you about your 15 minutes time limit.
Okay, I'm done. The other part is what is happening. Actually, climate change is impacting biodiversity and it is killing insects. There is an insect apocalypse which will impact on our food production. So where should be our priorities when you are talking of transformation of food sector? This is where I think we need to look at it. And second, when I said chemicalization, now pesticides are becoming a major problem. In India now, you can't get food without any pesticide residue. I mean, zero pesticide residue is impossible, even if they grow organically. We have been working on pesticides. All over India, we have seen pesticide poisoning is increasing, and the poisoning of lakes, rivers, air, and now with the drone-based spraying, it is going to increase more. Chemical fertilizers, again, that's a green revolution package. In rice systems, they are using heavily fertilizers. So chemicalization has happened, and it is a major problem. So when you are saying priority, I would rather look at de-chemicalization should be the priority for Indian agriculture rather than carbonization. So this is again US data. India data is, of course, we know Punjab where cancer trains, instead of one, now there are 4 cancer trains. In Burla, Orissa, there is a major hospital where every day 50 people come due to pesticide poisoning. In Vidarbha, we have seen a lot of pesticide poisoning. Kerala, also there are pesticide poisoning cases. In US, 97% of urine samples, they found glyphosate, which is a herbicide. So there are a number of instances where it is leading to chronic kidney disease. Across India, we are now seeing many people without, they need dialysis or they are dying because of kidney failure. So I think we need to look at both biodiversity and agriculture. Biodiversity is impacting climate change. I mean, lack of biodiversity is accentuating climate change, and climate change is also leading to biodiversity loss. So I think we need to look at biodiversity plus agriculture when we are talking of climate change, climate action, and transformation, food and ecology and environment. That's where agroecology concept is being promoted. And there, I think once you bring that, de-chemicalize and bring agroecology concept, even the carbon emissions or nitrous oxide emissions or methane emissions, they are going to be part of the natural cycle. So I'll stop here. Thank you.